Namo Phat. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The first mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I vow to cultivate compassion and learn ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to condone any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. For our Dharma lessons, we're reading Ajahn Munindo's book, Unexpected Freedom. Today we're continuing in a chapter on getting to know our emotional household. One of the things that inhibit our turning directly to face ourselves in the midst of emotional flare-ups is the fear that to do so will increase the suffering. We might think that if we stop resisting the threatening energy, it will take us over and be the cause of all kinds of humiliation. Contrary, however, to what we might have feared, if we stop resisting and investigate how able we are to receive the emotion just as it presents itself, we will find an increased sense of confidence and self-respect as we contact and develop our capacity for staying present with whatever arises. Little by little, this will take us into a relationship that feels much more appropriate, more humane. From the perspective of a willingness to fully allow this dimension of ourselves, we will see directly that stuffing emotions out of sight is an unkind, even an abusive thing to do. No wonder we didn't feel like our own best friend. Sadly, it's often the case that we haven't had adequate examples of people who knew how to be accommodating of their own emotional household. The guardians and mentors who were responsible for our education and upbringing were often themselves suffering from the consequences of their own unawareness, and this inevitably rubbed off onto us. We learned the patterns of behavior of the people that we lived with and picked up their habit of forcing that which we don't like or are afraid of into the basement, hoping it will disappear. But as the years went by, we may have started to feel like there was something missing. A big empty feeling in our stomach or in our heart makes us feel that there is something lacking. The existence of this feeling in society at large is a significant factor as the driving force behind our consumer culture. It runs on this perception of something lacking. But no matter how much we try to assuage this feeling with retail therapy, our sense of personal integrity does not increase. We can feel like we are living someone else's life and in constant fear of being found out. Whenever I've read the color supplement of the weekend newspaper, sometimes people leave us newspapers at the monastery, there are always these eye-catching pictures of food. I find myself wondering if people really eat like the pictures encourage them to. I mean, you couldn't live on those little weeny proportions in the middle of that stylish plate. It looks more like a piece of graphic art than a meal, which often, of course, is what it is. It's a designer exercise whose purpose is distraction. The same principle holds for various sporting activities. I recently stayed with a friend of the community in Leeds and watched a television program on extreme sports. Extreme is a good description for much of the activity we engage in. But what is it that is driving such activity? Instead of attempting to cover up the empty feeling with food or perfume or extreme sports, the practice of Dharma encourages us to trust that if we discipline attention carefully and skillfully, we can turn around and receive that feeling without reacting or shying away from it. How does it actually feel to feel I want something and I feel this sense of lack, the sense that I'm not all here? If we really listen to this, what we can find, instead of an increase in our suffering as our perceived enemy takes us over, is a genuine, naturally arising, warm sense of joy. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.